We acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land.
As one of the oldest living cultures on Earth, we celebrate their age-old connections to country, along with the knowledge, determination, patience and generosity of all First Nations people, past and present.
This is Aboriginal land.
Hi, I'm Lucille McCart.
And I'm Chantel Otten. We're from Bumble, and this is Give Me a Buzz.
From first dates to heartbreak, we can all relate to the ups and downs of modern dating and relationships.
And we're here to give you the inspiration, education, and motivation to navigate any dating fairy tale or dilemma that comes your way.
Okay.
I'm so excited for today.
We are here today with Drag Race royalty, author of Caught in the Act, and just all-round amazing Australian media personality, Miss Courtney Act.
Hi, Queenie.
Thanks for having me. How fun.
We are so excited about this one. It's the one I've probably been looking forward to the most, I would say.
Oh, I bet you say that to all the guests.
No,
I do, but I mean it when I say it to you.
We really mean it when we say it to you.
I'm excited.
We've been looking forward to working with you also since like the start of like this podcast.
Yes.
Since the podcast was birthed.
Been on our hit list for a while.
Yeah.
I'm glad that I'm here.
I know.
You know what? I've been excited because I love talking about relationships and sexuality and sex, and this feels like a great great space to talk about it in.
Yeah. I think like for us, it's all we talk about. So
Yeah.
we're really glad to just be here together and to just we've got a lot of stuff to talk
It's why we have
about
to bring
today.
guests on, otherwise it would just be Chantel and I just
Yapping away. Yapping away.
About the same
Also
stuff.
highly enjoyable, I'm sure.
Speaking of yapping, we ask every guest two
Yes.
questions.
Okay.
The first one, what is your opening move?
Well, my opening move is to ask for a video chat because
Yeah.
it's like if I'm on an app,
love that.
I have like, it's like a deal breaker for me where I'm like, I chat a little bit and then I'm like, hey, do you want a video chat? And it just cuts through me putting on clothes, leaving the house, going for coffee, sitting there awkwardly, realizing that this is not the one. And you can line them up. You know,
Yeah.
you can do it like a job interview sort of process and have them
You can stack your
scheduled.
day.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, gotta go.
Got a meeting.
Yeah, got another meeting.
Got to go to my next call, sorry.
Yeah. So that is my go-to first move is to request a video date.
Wonderful for our listeners because I feel like a lot of our listeners, obviously they're listening to this podcast to really get an idea of how to navigate the world of dating. And I think just like we treat it in a way that it's kind of like you have to date with purpose, but you can also treat it a little bit like a very fun job if you want to. I think that the video call is just such a great way of not wasting time.
I
For
also
anyone.
think it doesn't protect you against bad dates, but it does save you from a lot of them.
It does save you from
because
a lot of them.
You just get to know someone on that. You're like, oh, your tone of voice isn't what I thought.
Yes.
Oh,
Tone of voice. Like
The ick
only thing-
is there now, so we
Yeah.
don't have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
or you're really excited to meet them in person because you're like, yeah, hot,
Yes.
funny.
And just like the way their face moves, like you can't smell them. That's through video. But apart
yeah.
from that, you get to
You
like
get pretty much everything else.
Yeah,
You
everything
can be like,
else.
take a step back, give me a twirl.
Yeah. And like you can, I feel like in 30 seconds,
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
make a pretty strong judgment. But then you get a little bit of chat and you're like, oh, this is fun. Like I've got some banter here. This won't be a torturous coffee date.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I
I love
agree.
that. Okay, what about the worst dating advice that you have ever received?
The worst dating advice I've ever received is probably, I think mine was like the general perception when I was younger and coming out that it was sort of like infused advice that you had to be more masculine to be desirable, and obviously not dressed in drag, but out of drag. And so I think for me, the worst advice was just that I picked up from the gay scene in Sydney when I was like 18 years old, that masculinity was the thing that was desirable, and conversely that femininity was something to like be ashamed of or to be hidden, which I think is part of the deep-rooted internalized homophobia and misogyny of gay men.
Well, you've done a really good job of really kind of knocking down
Pushing
a few
back against
barriers
that.
and really showing people that you can just be truly yourself and authentic. So
Do you think that, because I have lived in Sydney my whole life, I have a lot of gay friends, I would call myself adjacent, if not just like a bulldozing member of the gay scene in Sydney, even though I'm straight. Like, do you think that's changed, or do you think there's still a lot of that very masculine sort of side of things that still sort of permeates?
I think it's gotten better. And I will say that it's not unique to Sydney. I'd say that gay men around the world coming out of the 90s into the 2000s, I mean, humans in the Western construct in general, like we've all been kind of infused with misogyny and queerphobia and racism, and like we grew up in that world that taught us to be that way. And so expecting anybody to be more than that has required them to do some work and understanding on themselves. And I think that it's gotten better because there's been more representation. There's more examples of gay men of different, gender expressions and masculinities and femininities out there in society. And it's kind of that thing of like, I know with Asian men, there's stigma about them being feminine or not being portrayed in media or film and television as being like strong, handsome leads. And so there's this like idea of Asian identity being seen as like less than or feminine. And I think that like often gay men were portrayed in one way or the other. And when there's not that representation, you kind of are left to sort of form your own understandings based off very little information. And so I think that with more examples and more stories being told, there's better, like the gays now love popping on a heel and popping on a wig and getting out a clacky fan at that after party and strutting around that after party,
clip clopping around.
Whereas there was a time when like the drag queens would be sort of like would be allowed in the space but never like to cross the line sexually. And now I feel like the drag culture has like infused gay male culture where they're like clap, 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 clap.
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
this is fun. We can have fun.
Yeah, like you were there as the entertainment. And I definitely know, like with my gay friends, like probably 10 years ago, there was maybe a bit more fear going out in a heel. I think it's changing slowly, but there's like, I think if you know that a sort of 40 plus, that it's had a totally different experience coming out and growing up in Sydney, and walking up and down Oxford Street means something completely different to them. Is it nice to see a 20-year-old gay guy, stomping around in heels and makeup?
I mean, it's also that thing of different spaces. There's like gay Sydney and then there's like queer Sydney.
Yeah.
And I love going to like mince parties or heaps gay, geographically usually located in the inner west, where there's much more freedom to celebrate different forms of male identity or masculine identity or feminine identity or any sort of identity, and that all of those sort of identities can be valid and also sexual, which I think is a thing, is that for a long time there was a desexualization of femininity for men.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think as well, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'm really, really want to get into the questions that people have sent in today, because I feel like a lot of this is going to come out in what we have to ask. But we have to start with a little bit of a speed round.
Ooh.
We're going to play a game.
Yes.
Shall I start?
I think so.
So the game works by, we've got green flags, obvious what those are.
Yep.
Red flags, we know what those are. Why don't I go quick round, and I want your view on this as well, Shanti. Asks you out but leaves it up to you to decide where to go.
Well, I'm happy that somebody has taken the initiative to ask me out.
That is nice.
Actually.
Always
So
good.
I'm going to say that's still a green flag for me.
Okay, yeah, good. They're talking to you, but they're fresh out of a breakup.
Well, I feel like I need an orange flag as well, because like that
You
could
can
be
add
fine.
an orange flag. I'm interested in this from both of you. Has a ton of Instagram followers.
Red flag. No, I'm joking.
It can be. There's nothing better when you're like 200 followers. Oh my God.
But I'm like, it depends on why you've got all the followers. Nah, I just like whatever. I really don't care. It depends on how they present in person.
The red flag amount is like 10,000 followers. Because it's like, what have you...
Why haven't you picked up? Or why?
Why haven't you got better engagement?
It's not a red flag, so it's a green flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels very binary, but that's
Yeah.
how it
Yeah,
works.
you know, we make the rules here. They say I love you within 3 months.
This is an orange. It could be an orange flag.
Yeah, fine. Sends flowers to your work.
Green for me, but it
Green.
depends on what they're doing in like other facets. If they were sending flowers to my house and I hadn't told them where I lived,
That's concerning.
that's a red flag. But my work, I don't mind because you can find that online.
Work is a orange to red flag for me because it's like, are you trying to show like you want my work colleagues to like know that I'm dating someone or get me to talk? Like to me, that's a bit of a overstepping on the privacy. I know what Chantal's going to say about this, so this is just for you, Courtney.
Yeah.
Lets their pet sleep in their bed.
It's not a red flag, but it's a coloured flag.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a green flag, and it's not a beige flag. But like, there's
Noted.
At first, you think it's really sweet, but then also like, there's a hygiene thing, but also like depends on the animal.
Depends on the dog, how stinky the dog is.
I got pink eye because I was staying with a friend and they had a cat and a dog, and if I left my door open, that cat and that dog would be in my bedroom, and the cat was sleeping on the pillow, and I like shooed it off, and then I think that's
where the
how
pink eye
I
came
got
from?
pink eye. And
Yeah.
so from that aspect, I don't want a cat's bum on my pillow.
That's fair
I don't
enough.
like cats, so I'm happy with not having the cats
But
in the
a
bed.
dash hunt can...
My little baby Sauce is allowed to sleep next to me all day.
Yeah, that doesn't feel
This
right.
isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Has to take a photo of their food before eating it.
That's fine.
Red flag.
Interesting. Expand on that. Shannon.
Just focus on me.
She's like, look at where
Yeah.
look at what's really going on. here.
Yeah.
It's competition.
Yeah.
Flame
Take a
react,
photo of me and then take a photo.
flame react emoji on the stories.
Fine.
Go for it.
I think it's there for a reason, and that reason is to tell me you think I'm hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, good.
Has a mullet.
Well, I did just recently dress up as Bailey Smith.
I was going to
for
say Bailey Smith comes to
Halloween.
mind. Probably the hottest person with a mullet to ever
He's skewed the
exist.
data, hasn't he?
He has.
Shout
He
out
really-
Bailey. We love
He
you.
should be counted out of the
Yeah.
sample because he
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
an outlier.
Doesn't like spicy food.
Grow up.
Yeah, you're an adult. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually have some dating dilemmas that we
These
need
are the
your
ones
help
that people
with.
have written
Okay.
in.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this.
Yeah. Please help
I want to be
us.
an agony aunt.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
This is what we brought you on here really to do because we thought no one better.
No one better. Okay, so first question. Can leopards change their spots? If a guy has cheated on a partner in the past, can I trust him to not cheat on me?
Well, I would take a few steps back. I don't know. I know everybody, some people are monogamous people, but I think that sometimes in monogamy there can be expectations about boundaries, and I think it's about communication. And so if someone had cheated on me with somebody else, I probably wouldn't create a situation where that was possible. Like, I'm very open and fluid with my relationships, and for me it would be about communication when we got to that point of exclusivity. I don't know, I've always been like that person who thinks that like love is not pie, and that like I can love my partner, and that like having a frisson with somebody else doesn't take away from how I feel about my partner.
Yeah.
Now, I do understand that that's not for everybody, and I also understand that people do have agreements in relationships, and I think it is very important to honour those. You know, there's a reason that they say leopards can't change their spots, but perhaps rather than trying to change the person's behaviours, you can change the construct in which those behaviours play out in the relationship.
Yeah.
So if they've cheated in the past, perhaps having a conversation about like why that was, and see if this is about power or deceit, could be an issue, but if it's just about like their sexuality not being monogamous, then that could be something to take on board. And see
have
if they're
they taken
willing.
the time to work that out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can get very confusing for people,
Yeah, it
especially
can.
when they're like, I want to be with you, but I actually don't think I can be a monogamous person.
I think that if I was to meet someone tomorrow that was like, I've cheated on partners in the past, and I said, why? And they can't answer, or the answer is, they were crazy.
Oh,
Like red
Bye-bye.
flag.
Red flag.
But if they were like, I wasn't having this particular need met, and now I realize that I need this in XYZ in a relationship, or I was really young and stupid and like just horny, or like, if they can articulate why and they've like worked that out for themselves, I think that's very different to someone that just did it, doesn't really know why, hasn't worked on themselves.
And also, like, even in an open relationship, a non-monogamous relationship, people can still lie and cheat.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. I've been working on a character for something that I'm writing, and there's a couple who are open, but the husband is still deceiving and cheating on the partner. And I was like, well, this feels saucy. Like, why? Like, you can do this, but you're still choosing to do it in deceit and lie. And that's obviously...
It's the thrill of it all, isn't it?
There are people who get off on that thrill of
Yeah.
being deceitful and trying not to get caught, which is, I think, a whole other thing compared to like other types of cheating where maybe you've had a little slip up.
Okay, well, we have number 2. We have two. We have question number 2. I have met this guy and we have been seeing each other for a few months. The only issue is I'm 24, he is 31, and he still lives at home with his mum. He tells me it's because he is saving money, but I just find it a little weird. He also insists on going back to his place, but I find running into his mum in the hallway or in the kitchen in the morning incredibly awkward. What do I do?
Yeah. I was like, that age gap's fine. I don't know what the big... lives at home. Saving for deposit. Has he always lived at home? Like, I think if...
It sounds like it. He still lives at home with his
Still-
mum. It doesn't sound like he's moved out and moved back in.
I think that's a red flag.
In this economy,
Yeah, I'm kind of like...
I don't think the
31,
living...
that means like 12 potential years of this economy, which hasn't existed.
Yeah,
right.
you know
You're
what?
right. You are
Serve it back
correct.
to us. I totally agree.
My issue isn't necessarily with him being at home. It's him being at home and wanting to spend their time as a couple in his mum's house.
It also hasn't said that he's saving for anything in particular. He's just saving.
Oh,
Oh, well, then he's grow up.
yeah.
I wonder
Get your
who's
own
paying
place.
for who's folding the clothes, who's doing the dishes.
You know it's mum.
Yeah.
You know it's mum.
I think going back to your place and like waking up in the morning and being confronted with mum.
Mum's coming in to make the bed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Morning, honey.
Hi, darling.
Cup of coffee.
Who'd like breakfast?
Yeah.
There you go.
And obviously, like the person who's written this sounds like they're having questions about it.
They're having
And I
doubts.
think
If they're writing to us, they're
if
having
you have
doubts.
to ask the question, you probably know the answer.
I often think that's the case.
Codependent on mum, going to transfer that dependence onto you.
Yeah.
Having said that, I will say that does this person feel this way about the situations, or have their friends told them that it's weird?
I'm assuming it's a she, went out for breakfast and told her friends, and they were all like, weird.
Yeah.
That's another thing to watch out for as well. If it doesn't feel weird, but then everyone starts to tell you it's weird, you've got to go with what your first gut was.
Totally.
All right. Question 3 is a great one because I think this is quite common. Last night, I found myself fantasizing about an ex-partner while having sex with my current partner. When it was all over, I felt like I'd done something wrong, like a dirty little secret. Is this wrong?
Personally, I don't think it's wrong.
No, they can't read your thoughts. It's
Fantasy is
fine.
fantasy,
Fantasy's fantasy.
As long as you're not like saying your ex's name during that time, then just don't tell anyone. Just tell us. Don't tell anyone
And
else.
don't, like, as long as it doesn't become the norm. Like if
Yeah,
you're
if you're doing that every
always
time.
thinking about. I have a piece of art that is based on a lover that I can see from my bed, and there's been a few times where I've been in the throes of passion with somebody else, and I've glanced over and seen this piece of art, and I'm like, oh. I call him
miss
Yellow Rubber
them.
Gloves for a reason, but I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
Gives you a second
Let's
wind.
go.
And then I find myself comparing them to him, and he was like,
It's pretty good.
kind of, I'm going to say top 3
One of the
all-time greatest
best.
lovers.
One of the best.
we
Yeah.
miss
Well, then
him.
that's nice. That's
Yeah.
nice. But yeah, if you're doing this, if that's the only way that you can enjoy it is by thinking of a previous partner, then
But if it just popped into your head.
if it just popped into your head, it's fine. And if that's the only time that you think about your ex as well, if you're also thinking about your ex, like while you're driving to work, while you're in the shower.
There's a nude painting of me in our guest room that one of our friends was staying in that room. I came in one morning, there was a towel just over the painting. And I was like, what's going on here? And he's like, I couldn't get you out of my head. He's like, it's really awkward. On to the next.
I'm chronically online, and so I love finding myself down rabbit holes on people's social media profiles, especially with people I have a crush on or are dating. My dilemma is that I can't fully remember what they've told me or what I found out myself. Is it really that bad? Though if I know too much, it's all publicly available information.
Ooh.
I don't think there's anything wrong with deep diving in someone's Instagram. I did it
Everyone does it.
just the other day. I went on a date, and then I was interested, and I went for a bit of a deep dive. Then I found that I'd reached the beginning of their Instagram, but it wasn't like they must have either not been a frequent poster or deleted a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because there was only a few pages. I wasn't
take you
scrolling
long
back
to
to
get to the photo.
2014,
Yeah.
and yeah,
700 posts.
yeah, my battery had gone flat.
I personally think that if you can't remember what they've told you and what you found out yourself, then that's probably a little bit of a why don't you wait for some mystery there, because things could get a little, like, I would feel a bit weird if someone was like, oh, so, you know, I don't know, I've told you before, when people are like, I have read every single article about you, or la la la, you're just a bit like,
yeah,
yeah,
that's not quite right.
no, why don't you just find
Just
out who
ask
I
me.
am now?
Yeah.
And don't rely on
Yeah, I think when you have a public profile, one of the things that I struggle with is social objectification, particularly sexually. So, like, I'll be in a bar, I'll be flirting with someone or on an app, and they already are going to often know a lot about me before I know anything about them. And so that sort of changes the balance and the dynamic of the relationship. And I think that a little dive on someone's social media can just give you a little bit more confidence and interest. But yes, when you start
Let
to
yourself
throw
be
off the balance,
surprised.
yeah,
Yeah. How I'm interested for you, how are the relationship between your two personalities in your dating life?
Well, do
you refer to them as your two personalities? How do you,
well,
how do you
they're
refer to
definitely
them?
they're
personas.
well, it's funny because, like, I'm always me,
Yeah.
regardless of how I'm dressed, but I definitely have a very different demographic of suitors depending on how I'm dressed.
Yeah, okay.
So there's a world of more straight identifying men who are attracted to me in drag.
Yeah.
There can be bi men, queer men, but mostly it's often like sort of more closeted, straight identifying, live straight lives, but are attracted to femininity and penises, which is kind of like, there's an element of like fun and taboo and thrill for them and for me, but it's not really a functional, equal sort of thing that would become a relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas as Shane, out of drag, that is sort of how I imagine my relationship, an actual relationship will unfold. Although actually I did meet an ex-boyfriend on an app. I had a drag profile, or Courtney profile, and he is a bi man. Our first, inverted commas, date was I was in drag, and then falling in love and being boyfriends. And I remember, like, months later sort of being in drag and sort of have like him doing something sexual, and I was like a bit like, oh, hang on, this feels weird. Why are you kissing me in drag? And then I was like, oh, I guess it's still just me, and we did meet that way. And oh, this, like, then I'm unpacking.
Yeah.
What's my damage here?
This episode is brought to you by Bumble. Shanti, have you ever been on a date and thought, we have got absolutely nothing in common?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's like, babe, I do not want to go rock climbing with you.
Thankfully, Bumble's latest interest badge feature can help avoid these kinds of awkward situations.
So whether you're a self-care girly or you're big on bouldering, Bumble lets you add up to 5 interest badges to your profile to help you match with people who like what you like.
Helping you date on your terms.
I love it. So take this as your sign and download the Bumble app on the App Store or Google Play today.
I'm interested in circling back around to the conversation we were having at the start as to how, like, if you're in drag, you seem to find that your suitors, as you call them, aren't necessarily like gay identifying men. Those men would go for you out of drag. What do you think the relationship is there?
I guess visually, if a gay man is attracted to men, then he wouldn't have a immediate physical attraction to me in drag, is my sort of general thought. Like, it's not often that I will instigate a kiss or even like really flirting with a gay man when I'm in drag.
What I am interested in, I guess, is how straight men feel comfortable exploring with you in drag.
Yes.
But might not feel comfortable exploring with you as Shane.
And that's the thing, is that, like, I mean, from my experience, sexuality definitely is a spectrum, and that I can't pigeonhole like, oh, all men who are attracted to me in drag are this. Some of them are very comfortable and understanding of their sexuality and are just attracted to femininity or a person or masculinity or whatever it is. Some, there is more taboo and sort of closetry going on because they're not able to, in their world, there's no space for them to explore. And it's kind of interesting, and sometimes I find it a little sad in a way, because there's not many marketplaces that are healthy for a straight identifying man to explore either trans attraction or attraction to someone who's feminine, like a femme guy. Like, often they'll go to somewhere like Grindr, which can be a little bit toxic, particularly in that space, and can often reinforce a lot of the negative stereotypes that they have about the gay or queer community, which is one of the things that keeps them in their straight world. And so I don't quite know what the answer is, but I do know, as I sort of touched on earlier, gay men desiring masculinity, being a young, sort of maybe more feminine presenting person, thought, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me. These people aren't finding me desirable. Then as I grew up, started doing drag, found that there was a whole world of men who were attracted to me because of my femininity. But there wasn't really a place where those men and people like me could meet in a healthy way. And I think that's the thing. And I've started to think, oh, actually, maybe like there is a bum for every seat. But it's the pathways of getting there that are blocked because of hang-ups and
society. It is just a real shame that men who grow up sort of presuming they're straight and who may be straight don't get afforded the opportunity to experiment and explore the way that women do, because I think this is like not a new hot take by any means, but you know, it with some of my lesbian friends, takes a while to convince your friends and family that you're not just experimenting as a woman and that you're actually lesbian. Whereas, you know, with men,
the card
if
is
it comes out that
immediately.
they've done one thing, then they're gay. You know, and I just think, that's not a new opinion, but it is a shame.
Well, the question that these guys, these types of men ask, often after coitus, which is my favourite time when they've got post-nut clarity and I'm able to, you know, psychoanalyze them and take them on a journey, they'll be like, does this make me gay? And I'm like,
do you feel gay?
I'm like, no. I said, are you attracted to women? Yeah. Okay. Well, you're definitely not gay, because gay men are not attracted to women, famously. And they're like, oh, thank God. And I'm like, none taken. But then I'm like, but you're also not straight.
And they're like,
it explodes.
But that's the thing, is that for them, and in these like I've had lots of conversations. I've even interviewed some for different projects that I've been working on, like in a more formal environment. And really, I can't help but think that the number one fear of their lives is being gay.
Yeah.
And
It's that internalized homophobia,
yeah.
isn't it?
And there's like a gatekeeping of masculinity, not for all men, obviously, hashtag not all men. But there's this real kind of like fear of not being a man.
Yeah, I think misogyny or patriarchy and homophobia are like
Yeah.
hand in hand.
Yeah.
Very that.
And very linked. And I think it's exactly that. Like, if you don't respect women or you think of women as something that you wouldn't ever want to be, then of course, like a gay man is almost that. And so that's not something you want to be either.
It's like the slippery slope to misogyny.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, it is a slippery slope, isn't it? But
We'll
the
get back to our questions.
Yes, the next question is one that we actually were discussing yesterday because I love this one. I met someone about 2 months ago on a dating app. Since then, we have been on about 7 really nice dates. I liked them so much that I went back onto the app to delete my own account. But when I went back on, I saw that their profile had completely changed. They had updated their prompts and a few of their photos. The last time I checked on their account was only a week prior.
Oh.
Are they leading me on?
Now, Chantel is laughing because I did not write this question, but this exact thing happened to me recently. And all I will say to this lovely person is, it's not a good sign.
It's not a good sign.
It's not necessarily a bad sign. It's not a good sign.
Within a week, if things have changed and you've been on 7 dates,
Yeah.
that means they're prepping to not be on 7 more dates, from my perspective.
This exact scenario happened to me recently, and when it all came out in the wash, what it meant was like that person, it didn't mean that they didn't like me, that they weren't into me, that they weren't attracted to me, but they were perfectly happy going on like one date every 2 weeks, like in perpetuity, and like
Forever.
forever, and like dating other people as well. I don't even think that they were that interested in dating other people. They just very clearly weren't interested in like things getting more serious or like more involved than what they were.
I think the main thing is we have to recognize that this might not be about you that they're dating. It might be really about them and their own personal life, their capability to cope with their own life, their happiness. You know, are they proud of themselves? Are they proud of what they're achieving? I really think that it's worth a conversation with that person. Hey, just noticed that you've updated your dating profile. I went on there to delete mine because I thought we might be heading in a bit more of a serious direction. Obviously, things are a little bit different in your arena. Tell me a bit about what's going on for you. I'm not upset. I'm just so curious.
Just hit the screen record button on your phone now and go back 30 seconds and then just dictate everything Chantel said.
Yeah.
Say it to
Exactly.
the person.
When I did talk to him about it, he was like, oh yeah, like, you know, I didn't talk to him about the profile, but I talked to him about like, is this going to grow from here, or is this kind of just like, and he was like, bless his heart, he was very sweet, but he was like, I do tend to get dumped around this time. Because he wasn't in a place where he could progress. So I think he probably knew that 7 dates
Was preparing
was the
for the
time
inevitable.
where people ask him to do something that he can't do. So he was probably just like, oh, refresh the profile because this is about to.
Hey Siri, play Liability by Lord.
Yeah.
Hang on. Isn't there a feature on Bumble? Like
Incognito mode.
Incognito
yeah.
mode? I mean, I'm not.
Yes.
That's probably.
So you can be on the
than what
app
I'm
and still
saying.
have a little look around.
Yeah.
That is on there.
That's probably not contributing well to this story, but
But he should be in
he should be on
incognito.
incognito mode. He's an idiot. No, maybe he's honest.
Okay, so this guy has asked me to be exclusive. I know this is common, but I seriously do not get the difference. We've been seeing each other all the time for nearly 4 months. I already assumed that we were exclusive. What am I missing here? I think that personally it's just for him to get some validation.
Well, or maybe he hasn't been exclusive. And now he
Wants to be
wants to
exclusive.
be.
Unfortunately, until you have the conversation, you can't assume that the other person thinks anything. in this economy.
In this dating economy.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I think about this, the question before.
Yeah.
I'm like, in this economy, this person's got to, if you get ready, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. Maybe that's what the
That
prior
is-
question was going with.
I think that is exactly it. But also, I think until it's all about communication. So the most dating dilemmas or dating problems or issues that people come to us with, it's when one person's made an assumption. There's no guarantee that person thinks the same way as you. So you have to communicate.
Yeah.
It's a good sign that they've asked you because that means that's what they want.
Yeah.
So if that was me, I'd probably just take the win and move on.
I just wouldn't go looking for a fight here.
No.
You've already won. You've got
Yeah,
what you want.
he
You've got what
wants
you
to
want.
be exclusive. You want that to lean in, get to know each other even more. It's only 4 months. I don't know, just lean in a little bit more there.
This is our last one of the questions that people wrote in for you. My ex did me dirty. Can't wait to see where this goes. Does this give me the right to actively go and hook up with one of their friends?
Oof.
I actually really do like his friend. The revenge would just be a bonus. Or should I be the bigger person?
No.
How hot's the friend?
There's a lot of context that is missing here, but I say, generally speaking, you don't need to fuck your ex's friends.
Be better. Come on. You don't have to, of course, be the bigger person. I really think, when people are, acting in a bizarre way, when they're irate, when they do the wrong thing, if you act in a highly emotional, if not toxic way, like this person, I would categorize this as toxic, you're just giving them ammo to blame you and make you the bad person.
No, I was going to say maybe
Give less.
understand that this behavior comes from your lack of power in a situation and ask yourself how you can perhaps find that sense of power without doing something toxic.
Date their dad instead.
Yeah.
Wouldn't go for the friend. I would go straight to the
If you want
top.
to hurt, if they're like, oh, my ex did me dirty. If you're also enjoying being on the higher ground,
Yeah.
if you shag their best friend, you're
You're
on
the
equal
dirty
playing field now.
And then they both get to gang up on you.
yeah,
No, I would just
you
go
don't
way
come
higher.
out the winner out of that circumstance.
No.
because
And what
especially
if his friend rebuffs you and then tells him,
yeah,
and
it
then
has
you
to
don't
be a
even get
sure
the
bet.
root?
It has to be a sure bet that you can shag the friend before you go
Exactly.
trying.
You're creating just a bad rep for yourself.
And
And, it's
also-
not even your fault, doll. Just move on and just date someone who's just way better than this person,
Yeah. If this is a woman writing in, I feel like it is because I feel like if it was a gay man, they've probably already shagged the friend.
Yeah.
we would know.
They've had a threesome.
Yeah.
If this is a woman, the two male friends will repair their friendship and you'll be on the outs with both of them. So
Just level up, upgrade yourself with someone totally new, a totally different group. The world is big. There's plenty of other people out there who will not do you dirty. And I think this is just about prioritizing yourself and putting yourself on a bit more of a pedestal rather than stooping very, very, very low.
Great.
Yeah.
So we've come to the DM segment of our show. Normally we ask our guests to hi-ho at this point, but
We want to have you with us.
we want to keep
because-
you around for the DM
Exclusive.
because you've been answering our questions so well. So we have a DM from listener Joanna.
What does being in my masc or femme energy mean when dating? What am I supposed to be if I want someone to chase me?
Extremely relevant for what we've been
Yeah.
discussing, Joanna.
I would say sometimes I find the labels of masc and femme to be limiting because we do associate masc with male and femme with female, and I feel like I want to find words that transcend sex or gender.
Yeah.
But I think this person, are they saying that they want to be chased?
Yeah, they want to be chased, and it's from Joanna. And I think we're going to assume here that Joanna identifies as a femme person
Yes.
because they haven't said otherwise. I do think that this is just a really hot topic on TikTok. I don't know if you've kind of lent into it, but every time I open my TikTok, it's like how to be in your black cat era, how to be femme, how to be toxic. And I'm like, wow, how did I get here? I'm like, are they listening to me in therapy? Like, what is happening? But I really think there has been, especially in the past few years, a lot of people who identify as femme feeling like they've been too much in their masculine because they've been taking care of too much. They've been owning too many responsibilities. Right. They've been taking care of the person that is masculine in their relationship, so therefore they're in their masculine, rather than feeling like they can be like gentle and soft and femme per se.
I think I have a good answer for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that all relationships exist in a form of balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so an example of someone wants to go out all the time, someone wants to stay home all the time. The person who wants to stay home says to the person who wants to go out, like, oh, why don't we stay in? And they retreat more. And then the person who wants to go out goes out even more. Mm-hmm. And I think the way to change the balance in a relationship is by not changing yourself, but like you can change some behaviors. So like if the person wants to go out all the time and then you go out a little bit with them, then you've sort of like shifted the balance from being like a 10-90 to like an 80-20. And I just feel like in a relationship balance dynamic kind of way, it's almost counterintuitive because you do the thing that you don't want. And then I think that then regulates the other person's behavior into a place where you get more of what you want.
Don't pursue. Just follow your own path.
Yeah.
And do what makes you feel good rather than doing something for someone to chase you.
Yeah. Because if you're behaving in a way that you think will make somebody want to chase you, then you've already removed yourself from authenticity and being present. I in the past have found like, oh, I'm always doing the instigating, and I'm like, if I don't instigate, then no one will ever instigate, so I just have to do it. But there's a element of like trust, I think, where you think, okay, I'm just going to be me and do what I want, and then actually you're going to find people who are attracted to who you are rather than the version that you're trying to be.
I completely agree. I understand the value of like the terms masc and femme for a lot of the context in which they're used, but I also find them unhelpful in other terms and almost a bit redundant because I think they still, to me, just bring up like really traditional gender roles.
And a binary in a way.
You know, and I'm like, I don't think that you can unpack those roles without unpacking the language that we associate with them.
Yeah.
And I think if we label them as femme and masc, it reinforces this idea that women are there to cater and men are there to lead. And I don't think those ideas are helpful. But I feel like sometimes we focus so much on like these traditional gender roles that we all need to take a step back and just think like, who am I? What is right for me? And the more you can focus on that authenticity, people are attracted to people that know who they are.
So be in your authentic era, be in your elevate era, really have a lot of self-awareness. What behaviours make you feel really good? What behaviours make you feel a bit unsure? What behaviours are enabling your partner to perhaps, you know, not level up, not step up to the table? If you're wanting someone to chase you, I think that's all about you just being authentic so someone can love you for exactly who you are. But I do think like we focus a lot on self-awareness and going, what behaviours of mine am I kind of leaning into here that might not actually be helpful?
Yeah, and if you're saying, I'm in my femme energy or I'm in my, what do you actually mean?
And where does the desire to be chased come from? Because I mean, we have insecurities and that's fine to acknowledge them. Like we don't approach everything as like a perfect evolved human. But I guess like, where does the desire to be chased come from? Is that validating a need to be desired or a need to be wanted? You know, perhaps it's okay to want to be chased, but maybe there's also a part of you that can identify like what that is. And
how do you observe that play out in the queer community? Because I think in the heterosexual community, there's very strict instructions on who's meant to chase and who's meant to be chased.
I mean, I've always been a bit confused, like, because there's still that traditional paradigm of like masculine and feminine in the gay male world. And so I'm someone who, I mean, physically and gesturally, like a more feminine person, but then I can often find myself in situations where I'm also like the higher status person, or I'm also like quite.
The power dynamics are very complex.
Yeah, they are. Like, I mean, even like in a sexual way, I would often be a bottom assumed, but I'm quite verse. There's like an assumption if there's a man and he's bigger than you, he's going to be the top. And if you're smaller or more feminine, you're going to be the bottom. But often that doesn't actually work. And so you find yourself then just negotiating on what your actual needs and desires are, which I think is
Healthy.
Yeah.
And I think that breaking down those sort of ideas and expectations and paradigms for anybody in any sexuality or gender is such an important thing. And I think one of the huge benefits of being queer is that I didn't fit in. And so then I got to make my own rules. And like even with presenting as Courtney and having interactions with guys, I haven't been socialized as a woman, and so I don't understand the like sit like a girl or be nice or be like like any of these sorts of like outside ideas of femininity. And so there's this interesting thing where I don't have the shame about my femininity, and I think that's why a lot of the audience of shows like Drag Race are women, because they see people choosing femininity and choosing it with strength and power and not having shame about it, because we weren't socialized as women and don't understand. We're not like, I've got my own shame about being a feminine guy. Yeah. So I think there's like interesting parts of each other's identity that we can all take strength from. But the beauty of queer identity, I think, is that you've been forced outside of the paradigm. And so you can either try and conform and adapt to the paradigm, or you can just recreate what works for you. Well, you can create what works for you.
That just made me think that like drag community and like drag shows are kind of the only place where femininity is like really celebrated and put on a pedestal in this like really like beautiful way that isn't like a bikini contest or like a beauty pageant or something. Like it's got that energy about it, but in this like really fun, like beautiful way that had never really occurred to me.
Sometimes when there's been this comment about like drag queens coming from the right, and they'll show a video of like some hot slut drag queen twirling and dropping and whatnot, and I'm like, oh, you've completely misread this. There is nothing sexual about this for the audience, for the performer. I understand you as a straight man. I've seen this in a strip club, and you've probably got a bit of a chubby and you're a bit confused about what that means. But actually,
no one's having a sexual experience here.
No.
We're just
having fun.
Yeah.
It's just the girls and the gays in a room having a good time.
Being like, yes, queen.
Yes. We're just cheering each other on.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. What a great episode.
It's delightful.
It's been lovely.
Yes, you have answered a lot of great questions as well.
So if you enjoyed this podcast, you can give us a follow and send us some feedback or questions at Bumble_Australia on Instagram.
And if you want to see more of Courtney, you can follow her at Courtney Act on socials.
Don't forget to tap the bell.
Leave us a review.
All of the things.
Share this amazing episode with your friends as well. I think that's
all the
really
drag queens that
important.
you know and follow.
Yeah, all the queenies.
Everyone.
And we'll see you next week.
Bye.